Hi everyone, this is Cartoon. Summer is calling and I'm very excited to share my new sewing pattern that I've been working on it since 2025 and is finally done. This is sweet and sour sewing pattern which has different design of sleeves and the bottom choices that you can choose between shorts and mini skirt. In this video, I will show you how to make this sweet and sour top with cap sleeves and shorts with ruffles. I started with the front bodice by cutting the fabric following the pattern. I matched the notches of the center and the side front pieces, right sides of the fabric facing together. This is the lining pieces so you can see the notch marks better here. Then align raw edges of the two pieces and pin them together. I clip the curve of the seams a little bit so the two pieces can fit perfectly together. And sew to attach. And I did the same for the main fabric. This fabric came from the dress that I made in 2021, but I didn't wear that dress anymore, so I thought it would be a nice idea to upcycle it. And the lining, I used my old bed sheet. So this cloth is 95% recycled. And sew to attach. When it's done, press the seams towards the center, and these are the front pieces. Then I sew the back pieces together. I started pinning the bottom of two pieces together, right sides of the fabric facing each other, and then align the notch of the side back to the top of the center back. I also provided written instructions so you can use it along with this tutorial. After that, press the seams open and the back piece is done. Then I'm going to sew the front and the back bodies together by pinning the shoulders of both pieces, right sides facing together, and sew to attach. When it's done, I'm going to make the ruffle for the bodies by cutting a long strap and then make a rolled hem on the one side of the strap. You can also find the measuring table for the strap in the pattern. This is how it looks. And then I made a gathering on the other side of the strap. During the gathering, make sure that the length of the ruffle matches the circumference of the neckline. Then fold the ends of the ruffle inwards, wrong sides of the fabric facing together. Then pin the ruffle on the main bodice wrong sides facing down on the right side of the bodice. The ends of the ruffle will be aligned to the buttonhole line of the bodice. Pin it around the neckline. And sew to attach. When it's done, I place the lining to the main bodice by facing down the right sides of the fabric together. And sew to attach. Clip the curve around the neckline to release tension, but be careful not to cut the stitching lines. turn the right side up and press the seam towards the lining. The seam should line on the lining side. Then top stitch about 1 mm on the lining bodies and press the seams when it's done. Then pin the side seams of the front and the back bodice pieces main to main and lining to lining, right sides of the fabric facing together. And sew to attach on the wrong side of the fabric. Press the seams open with the iron. Then align the raw edges of the center front pieces. Pin them together. And measure inwards from the center edges of the center front piece 3 cm. And top stitch on the drawing line. To finish the bottom of the top, I align the seams of the main and the lining together Turn the wrong side up. Align the seams and pin them together. And sew to attach. Trim the top and the bottom corners and turn the right side out through the armholes. The top is done and now I'm going to make cap sleeves. I started with cutting the fabric following the bias tape pattern and then used this bias tape maker to help me fold the strap, and this will be used as an elastic casing. If you don't have this tool, you can just fold the fabric in half with the wrong sides together and press with the iron to create a middle crease line. Then unfold the tape and fold the middle row edges to the middle crease and press again. This will give you the same result. When it's done, place the folded sides of the elastic casing down on the wrong side of the sleeve. In the pattern, you will see the marked lines on the sleeve, so place the casing above the marked lines and top stitch 1 mm on the top and the bottom of the casing to attach. After that, make a rolled hem on the bottom of the sleeve. And gather the top of the sleeve. Then measure the elastic around your bicep, or take your bicep measurement and subtract about 1.5 to 2.5 centimeters. I use a safety pin to help me insert the elastic through the casing. Now I got my cap sleeves and I'm going to attach them to the bodies. So to attach the cap sleeves to the bodies, I matched the notches of the sleeve and the bodies together. Pin them in place around the armhole. And sew to attach. When it's done, I use a serger to overlock the seams. Then I'm going to hide the underarm seams, and the easiest way to do this is folding the underarm seam inwards and stitch about 1 millimeter close to the edge of the underarm. You can find more about this in the written instructions. Another method that I'm going to show you is using two bias tapes. Fold one end of the bias tape in about 5 millimeters and fold it in half again. Start pinning about 1 or 1.5 centimeters above the sleeve. Line up the raw edges of the binding with the raw edges of the underarm. Pin along until it reaches the other end of the cap sleeve. Pin the binding on the other end above the sleeve about 1 to 1.5 centimeters plus 5 millimeters, so it will make around 1.5 to 2 centimeters in total. Then cut the excess fabric. Fold the other end in by 5 millimeters. Pin it in place and sew 1 centimeter to attach. Then top stitch along the facing, binding close to the seam line about 1 millimeter. Then turn the facing towards the wrong side. Press and pin in place and stitch about 1 millimeter close to the other edge of the facing to enclose the raw edges. This is how the underarm looks. Then I'm going to sew the buttons and buttonholes to the top. I chose fabric covered buttons because it can be customized. Then I measure the positions where the buttons and the buttonholes will be. You can also use a button gauge tool or a ruler to position the buttons on the left side of the garment, and the buttonholes will be on the right side. You can find more information in the written instructions. Then I use the buttonhole presser foot, slide out the back of the buttonhole presser foot, and put the button on it. Once the button is in there, slide the scale inwards until the button is snug and not going to fall out. Put the buttonhole foot on the machine and start sewing. After that, sew the buttons on. Then use a seam ripper to cut the buttonholes open. When it's done, press the ruffle down with the iron. And top stitch on the ruffle from the top edge of the top, about 1 millimeter. And this is how it looks. And the top is done. Now I'm going to make the charts. I started by cutting the fabric following the patterns, then align the back pieces right sides facing together and sew on the center seams of the back pieces to attach. And do the same for the front pieces. When it's done, align the crotch seams of the front and the back pieces right sides facing together. And sew to attach. Then align the side seams of front and back pieces together. And sew to attach. Then I measure the length of an elastic by wrapping the elastic around the waist on bare skin. Then I fold the elastic in half and mark the middle point on the crease. Unfold the elastic and fold the raw edges to the middle point and mark on the creases again. And I will get 3 marks in total. Then place the elastic down on the wrong side of the shorts. The top of the shorts and the elastic will be aligned horizontally. Then match the mark points of the elastic with the 4 corners of the waistband and pin them to secure. Then I'm going to sew with zigzag stitches or using overlocker on the top of the waistband. But first I'm going to attach the 4 corners so the elastic won't move. And start sewing with zigzag stitches on the top of the waistband and the elastic to attach. Stretch the elastic while sewing to match the length of the waistband. When it's done, fold the waistband downwards to cover the elastic. Then stretch and sew with zigzag stitches on the edge of the waistband again to attach. The shorts is almost done. And then I'm going to sew the ruffles to the shorts, but this is optional, so you can skip it. If you don't want to have ruffles on the bottom of the shorts, you just make roll hem on the bottom of the shorts. To attach the ruffles to the shorts, I align the raw edges of the ruffles to the side of the bottom of the shorts. Right sides facing together. Pin around. If you already sewn the side seams of the shorts, you may have to cut the seams of the bottom of the shorts open just a little bit so you can easily pin the ruffles to the shorts. You can find more information in the written instructions. Cut the excess fabric. And repeat the same steps on the other side. And sew on the wrong sides to attach. Last but not least, make a road hem on the bottom of the ruffles. And this is my shorts. I hope you like this sweet and sour set. If you happen to make this set, don't forget to tag La Petite Cartoon to show your creation. See you in the next video.